Section 8.2. Testing a claim about a proportion. Key concept. This section describes the complete procedure for testing a claim about a population proportion P. We illustrate hypothesis testing with the p-value method, the critical value method, and the use of confidence intervals. The methods of this section can be used with claims about population proportions, probabilities, or the decimal equivalents of percentages. There are different methods for testing a claim about a population proportion. Part 1 of this section is based on the use of a normal approximation to a binomial distribution, and this method serves well as an introduction to basic concepts, but it is not a method used by professional statisticians. Part 2 discusses other methods that might require the use of technology. Finding the number of successes X. When using technology for hypothesis tests of proportions, we must usually enter the sample size n and the number of successes x, but in real applications, the sample proportion, the point estimate, is often given instead of x. The number of successes x can easily be found by evaluating x, which is equal to n times the point estimate. If 52% of 926 survey respondents answer yes to a question, the number who answered yes is x, which is equal to n times the point estimate. If n, the sample size, is 925 and the point estimate is 0.52, multiplying them together gives the value of x to be 481.52, which we must round to 482. 481.52 must be rounded to a whole number because it is a count of the number of people among 962. And also because technology typically requires entry of a whole number. Caution. When conducting hypothesis tests of claims about proportions, slightly different results can be obtained when calculating the test statistic using a given sample proportion instead of using a rounded value of x when found by using x, which is equal to the sample size times the point estimate. The normal approximation method. The box on the next page is going to include the key elements used for testing a claim about a population proportion. The following procedure is based on the use of a normal distribution as an approximation to a binomial distribution. When obtaining sample proportions from samples that all have the same size n, and if n is large enough, the distribution of the sample proportions is approximately a normal distribution. And equivalent methods. When testing claims about proportions, the confidence interval method is not equivalent to the p-value and critical value methods. So the confidence interval method could result in a different conclusion. Both the p-value method and the critical value method use the same standard deviation based on the claim proportion p. So they are equivalent to each other. But the confidence interval uses an estimated standard deviation based on the sample proportion. Recommendation. Use a confidence interval to estimate a population proportion, but use the p-value method or critical value method for testing a claim about a proportion.